Hey guys, Nike here. Whoa, the specialization patch. Oh my gosh, it was the best possible outcome for the PvE warrior. Over the past several months, as you guys are probably more than aware, the meta build for the warrior has been a phalanx strength-based build that gave up all its personal DPS in exchange for huge team DPS buffing capabilities with phalanx strength. However, with this balance patch today, warrior will retain the phalanx strength buffing capabilities, but will also regain all its old personal DPS and then some. This is the best possible outcome that could possibly be. So, with that in mind, there are two currently optimal warrior builds that I will be going over today. The first is a phalanx strength warrior. As I said, this build will allow the warrior to be the primary might stacker for the team. It utilizes a pure greatsword DPS rotation in order to maximize personal DPS and might generation for the team. The only drawback of this build compared to previous meta builds is the lack of fast hands, which results in a slight decrease in vulnerability production for long fights. However, with the expanded vulnerability protection of the Guardian and Mesmer, it's likely that this loss will not even be felt at all by the team. The second build is a solo warrior build designed for, as you might guess, solo play, as well as times when you are the second warrior in the group and you already have another warrior in the group using phalanx strength. This build will utilize discipline trait line instead of tactics in order to enable a fast hands based greatsword, axe, mace, DPS rotation, which is ideal for difficult boss solos and vulnerability stacking when you are the second warrior in the group. Additionally, it has some unique team utility with permanent regeneration granted by traits in the discipline trait line. So let's get into it. Let's talk gear, guys. Alright, gear. So the gear I recommend currently, Berserker, everything with strength runes for both group and solo play. Previously, we received a 30% base boon duration boost by speccing into tactics, and that allowed us to use Scholar runes along with Golden Fried Dumplings to give us the necessary might duration to power out a phalanx strength build. However, with the loss of this built-in 30% boon duration, we are obligated to use strength runes to make it up. When it comes to infusions, people ask me all the time, should I use precision infusions or use mighty infusions? I recommend precision infusions. The mighty infusions are slightly more DPS, like 1/10 of 1% better DPS. However, precise infusions will enable us to have things like might on crit, bleed on crit, vuln on crit much more often, which is why I think that even though the direct damage of the mighty is infinitesimally better, the overall benefit to our build is increased with precision infusion. So if you are going the full route of blinging out your character with +5 infusions, go with the precise infusions, guys. Weapons. We are going to, the star of the show is our greatsword with Knight and Force. We're going to have an axe with Knight. And we're going to have a mace with Sigil of Peril. Now this is new, Sigil of Peril. Why Sigil of Peril? Well, we are running a pure greatsword build. The only use we have for our axe mace is at the start of a fight, quickly bursting these two skills, Cyclone Axe and Crushing Blow, to put Vuln on. Since this weapon set exists only for Vuln application, we want the application of the Vuln to be as good as possible. Let's think about that. We'll use Sigil of Peril, 20% Vuln duration. We'll get an extra 2 seconds of Vuln from Crushing Blow. It helps, guys. You will like it. Go with Sigil of Peril on your mace. Additionally, you can bring along with you a longbow with Knight and Force. This is going to give us an on-demand blast finisher. It's going to give us an on-demand fire field. And there are some of you out there who do need to or want to range attack bosses. If that is you, go with a longbow over a rifle, guys. Highly, highly recommend you do that. Additionally, our underwater weapon is going to be a spear. Underwater, phalanx strength works with spears to help our party stack might. Therefore, you do need a spear and equip it with Knight and Force. If the only underwater content you do is HOTW, feel free to replace the Sigil of Knight with a Sigil of Wrath, which will help you kill Svanir. If you only do Fractals underwater, put Crate Slaying. Whatever, just as long as your spear is good to go. Additionally, if you want to have the right weapon for every occasion, bring a sword with an energy sigil. This will help you with boss fights when you're having a solo boss fight and you need the block from this and the extra dodge from the energy sigil. Difficult boss fights, sword with energy sigil. I bring also a Warhorn. In between fights, it is your job as a warrior to blast swiftness for your party to help you get to the next encounter. Therefore, you will want Warhorn for Call to Arms. That will give you the swiftness. What sigil do you put on it? It doesn't particularly matter. You can use energy. You can use even a boon duration gem. I have battle on mine. No particular reason, just because I've had it on there for a while and I haven't felt like switching back yet. So that is it for the Warhorn. Additionally, if you find yourself doing a lot of solo dungeons and you need a mace that doesn't have peril, you want more DPS from your mace, feel free to go with a mace with force or a mace with sigil of strength. Either one's good. They work well in solo a bit more than sigil of peril will in a solo situation. I keep with me a backup greatsword with undead slaying and force for when I do a raw. Additionally, same token, I keep an axe with undead slaying. These are my raw weapons. I wouldn't leave home without them. I love a raw. Most dungeon runners love a raw. These are your weapons for a raw. For other daytime dungeons like Honor of the Waves, Caudicus Manor, and some of the Fractals that are daytime, I keep a greatsword with air and force, and I also keep a axe with air. These are the highest DPS sets for daytime instances. So that's it for gear, guys. It's pretty straightforward. Most of you probably have all this gear already. So let's move on and talk the traits, which is the big changes. All right, we're talking traits. The Phalanx Strength Warrior is going to use Strength, Arms, and Tactics. In Strength, we are going to take Restorative Strength. This is going to give us Might to our entire party when we activate our heal skill at the start of each fight, which we will. Then, at the Master level, we take Forceful Greatsword. Everyone knows how amazing this trait is. It gives Might to you and your whole party. It will increase your damage by 10%. Forceful Greatsword is one of the best traits in the game. Let's go with it. Note, Stick and Move has been buffed to 10%. It used to be 3%. Now it's 10%. This is a very, very beneficial DPS increase. And when we get to the DPS rotations, you will see how I advocate playing in order to maximize your Stick and Move uptime. At the Grandmaster level, the new, the improved, the shiny, the spicy Berserker's Power. This trait is going to give us a 20% damage increase, and through the DPS rotation and build I recommend, you will get 100% uptime of this trait. In Arms, we are going to take Signet Mastery. Signet Mastery is going to give us tons of extra precision. It's going to give us Signet cooldown. It's a great trait. When the boss hits 50%, we're going to get even more precision because we're going to get a free Signet of Might activation. It's going to be great. Tons and tons of precision. Very, very strong. Master level, there's really nothing good here. We have Unsuspecting Foe, Deep Strike, and Blade Master. If you're doing a boss solo and using Offhand Sword, of course switch this to Blade Master. Any other case, you're just going to want Deep Strike. It's not going to be the greatest trait. It's going to give us some Condi damage. We only have a few bleeds, but hey, a few buffs to our bleeds, better than nothing, which is what the other two traits will do 9 times out of 10. Bloodlust, of course, this used to be a 10% damage boost. It's only 5% now. A bit of a nerf, but overall, with all the other buffs considered, we're okay. And then at the GM level, we take Furious. Why Furious? Why not dual wielding? Well, here's why. You need to be using your Arcing Slice on cooldown in order to maintain Berserker's Power 100% uptime. You will not be able to do that without Furious. Furious is the way. It's the truth and the light. I highly recommend you guys give Furious the shot and listen to me. Take my advice. I know what I'm talking about here. In Tactics, we're taking Empowered. 1% damage boost for each boon. Empower Allies. 150 power for everyone in our party. Everyone knows how good that is. Here's a new one. Inspiring Presence. Might applied by you also grants healing power. And Phalanx Strength at the Grandmaster level. Well, we know how Phalanx Strength works. It gives might to everyone in our party. These two traits together will buff everyone's healing power by a little bit too. You might say, oh, who cares about healing power? Well, guess what? Regeneration is a thing. There's going to be heals getting thrown around. Hey, it helps. Every little bit helps. It's a nice little synergy where previously there was none. I'll take it as a buff. These are our traits. This comes together to be a total package of DPS utility and just badassness. So that is the Phalanx Strength Warrior. Next, I will talk about what you do when you're solo. All right, so we're solo. So what do we do? What's the difference? Well, when you're solo, you're going to want to take Blade Master. Blade Master is going to increase the cooldown of your sword block and your Impale and Rip for a nice DPS boost. It's actually, when you're solo, you do end up using sword offhand quite a bit. Blade Master is going to increase your synergies there. Very, very strong. Furious will also be noteworthy because it's also going to give you a lot more condition damage, which will impact your torment that you do from the Impale. Well, just slightly better synergies there for when you're solo. However, we switch out Tactics and take Discipline. What does Discipline get us? Mostly it gets us fast hands, which gives us a much better DPS rotation for solo situations. What traits do we take? We take Warrior Sprint, makes us move faster. Everyone knows how good that is. Inspiring Battle Standard, when you're solo, it's going to give you permanent regeneration. The healing, okay, not the greatest thing ever, but hey, it's more than you had before, and it will help you win attrition-y type fights where you take some unavoidable damage. And at the Grandmaster level, we take Heightened Focus. Heightened Focus, oh my gosh, guys. It's going to give us, once that boss hits 50%, he is going to melt. Heightened Focus will do insane DPS boost. 4 seconds of swiftness every 15 seconds. The boss hits 50%, you spring into action, and it's going to start melting. Very powerful when you're solo. Very, very powerful. Alright, guys, so that is it for the solo warrior build. We are going to move right on to consumables. Alright, guys, consumables. Let's talk food. If you are playing Phalanx Warrior, you are going to want fried golden dumplings. These are your food. As I said before, we don't get that 30% boon duration anymore from tactics. Therefore, we're going to need some help. We have strength runes for the purpose, but that's not going to be enough. You're going to need fried golden dumplings to get where you need to be in terms of might generation for your party. Golden fried dumplings are the way. Well, what if you're the second warrior in your group? What if you're solo? If you're solo, you want plates of truffle steak. They are super, super, super good. What if you have a thief in your party? Bowl of sweet and spicy butternut squash soup. The thief is going to give you spotter. If you have spotter, you don't need precision from the truffle steaks. You can use sweet and spicy butternut soup for an even bigger DPS boost. What if you're in a situation like a pug and you're taking damage and you don't know what's going on and you can't really account for everything? People are playing weird crap and really just randomly. Yo, use Omnumberry Ghost. Heal on crit will help. In low-level dungeons where you hit the stat cap, you might want to consider lifesteal food. It's a nice DPS increase. So that's it for food. Additionally, I recommend keeping in your inventory all the Slayer potions that you could possibly need for any encounter that you run into. I have some of every Slayer potion in the game in my inventory. I am never without the right Slayer potion. I recommend you also have the right Slayer potions. Some instances like Fractals, there is no Slayer potion that's viable. You can use Sharpening Stones or Maintenance Oils depending on the needs of your group. Do you have enough crit chance? Well, then go with Sharpening Stones. Do you need more crit chance? Go with Maintenance Oils. You can figure out which one you need at the time. Additionally, if there's absolutely nothing, if you're in a low-level dungeon where you've hit the stat cap and there's no Slayer Potion, which I'm probably talking about Ascalonian Catacombs, you can consider using Scale Venom for the additional weakness and vulnerability stacking. It'll help you out. It's pretty good. It's something worth keeping in your inventory. Last thing I want to touch on is Harpy Feathers. Harpy Feathers give you a few seconds of stealth. When you're in a pug and things are going south and you need to make an escape or you have a very difficult trash run, you can use Harpy Feathers to stealth you through a tight spot. As I always say, they are not ever mandatory or necessary. However, they are sometimes useful, so I always advise you to bring them along. That is basically it for a quick touch on the consumables. We'll talk DPS rotations in a second. Alright guys, DPS rotations, let's talk about it. The goal of a Warrior Greatsword rotation is to maximizing your Berserker's power uptime. How do we do that? By arcing slicing on cooldown when you have full adrenaline, which this build can do with Furious. Alright, so our number one skill to always use is arcing slice. Additionally, you want to then use 100 Blades and Whirlwind Attack. These are a pair. Their cooldowns are linked up. You'll always have one and the other ready. After arcing slice, 100 Blades, Whirlwind Attack. After you've Whirlwind Attacked, there should be a gap between you and the boss. What you're going to want to do is then dodge back to the boss to gap close. That will proc Reckless Dodge, which does good amount of damage, and it will reduce your endurance. Guess what that turns on? It turns on your 10% from stick and move. So, that will help keep that 10% from stick and move going. Every Whirlwind Attack, you're going to want to dodge. Always, always, always dodge after every Whirlwind Attack. Alright, so then you're in a situation where you have Blade Trail and Rush. Blade Trail, if the boss isn't pressed up against a wall or in a corner or something, Blade Trail will hit twice, which is a DPS increase. Use Blade Trail. Rush is a super hard-hitting attack. These skills have kind of wonky cooldowns. Sometimes after a Whirlwind Attack and dodge, you won't have these up. You'll have to auto-attack. It is what it is. If you have one of them up, always use those instead of an auto-attack because they're just a bit better than your autos on a damage per second route. So that's basically it. Rule of thumb. Arcing Slice if you have full adrenaline and if it's off cooldown. Always. 100 Blades, Whirlwind Attack, Dodge. Consider that one skill. Consider 100 Blades, Whirlwind Attack, and Dodge a single skill. If you think of it in that mindset, that those three actions, the 100 Blades, the Whirlwind Attack, and the Dodge, is a single skill, that'll kind of get you in the right mindset to do optimal rotations. And then your choices are always use Blade Trail or Rush in preference to an auto attack. If everything's on cooldown and you can't do anything, great auto attack, obviously. Come on, everyone knows what to do. Little notes about DPS rotation. At the start of every fight, you're going to want to activate to the limit. That's gonna fill up your adrenaline. You're gonna want to double dodge. You want to start the fight with no endurance, especially if you know you're not gonna need to dodge. Why no endurance? It'll give you a long time of attack of opportunity in order to keep that 10% damage boost. So, how I recommend you start fights? Double dodge, to the limit, Crushing Blow, Cyclone Axe, swap to Greatsword, and then go into the Greatsword rotation that I described. That's basically the long and short of it. Do that, and you'll be good to go. So I'm going to give you a brief example up next of this rotation in action. Take a look, guys. Alright guys, let's talk slot skills. In our healing slot, I now recommend To the Limit in place of the old healing signet. Why? Well, To the Limit is going to need to be activated at the start of every fight to give us full adrenaline so that we can start off the fight with a burst skill and trigger Berserker's Power for a big DPS increase. Well, that's why. Additionally, it has the added benefit of giving us endurance back if needed. Not really anything we actually want. In fact, that actually kind of hurts us because it keeps our stick and move from filling up. But nonetheless, activating it will give our party 5 might. It's going to give us the adrenaline we need to activate Arcing Slice early. It's good to go. Healing Surge, very good. And with Strength Runes now, we don't have to worry about maintaining our Scholar buff. We can eat a hit if need be and go to 50% health and be perfectly fine. And our DPS won't be diminished one bit. Alright, there are times, however, you do want to be aware that Defiant Stance is the way to go. Certain encounters, Defiant Stance is the optimal healing skill. You'll know what that is because you're an experienced warrior and you watch my stream and you see when I switch to Defiant Stance. In the elites, you can use either Signet of Rage or Battle Standard. Signet of Rage has the benefit of activating, giving your party a quick boost of might, and it also gives you 100 precision from your Signet Mastery trait. Really, really good, guys. It is a definite viable option. However, I usually recommend Battle Standard. Why Battle Standard? The ability to revive fallen teammates is super, super strong. There'll be times you're in a fractal, say. 2 guys will go down. Mossman's right there. He is threatening to wipe the party because you got 2 people down. It's dangerous to res them. He's going to kill them with auto attacks. He's going to kill anyone who tries to res them. Boom, drop your Battle Standard. Both guys are back up. All 5 of you are back up. You guys are back in it. You're going to win the encounter instead of wipe. If it's the difference between a wipe and success, go with Battle Standard. Hey, if you're doing a record run or you're doing some sort of super speed run where it doesn't, if people go down, you're in trouble anyway, then don't worry about Battle Standard. Use a Signet. But for a casual daily run, I recommend Battle Standard. It's going to bail you out of wipes. For our utility slot skills, the standard is going to be Signet of Fury, Banner of Discipline, and Banner of Strength. Signet of Fury buffs yourself with lots of precision. The banners buff your whole party with precision, power, and condi damage. All these things, and crit damage. All these things are super relevant in big DPS boosts. Man, great stuff. If you ever have to swap out one of your utility skills for something niche, if you're in a particular encounter that requires something else, Signet of Fury is the one to swap out first. Another thing to consider, if you have a ranger in your party who is providing 150 precision from Spotter, feel free to switch to Signet of Might, because you will have all the precision you could possibly want. You don't need any more precision. You can go Signet of Might, boost your power, do mega deeps. All right, there's a whole bunch of other skills that you will use from time to time. Bolus comes up in dungeons. Even Fear Me, you might think is crazy to use in dungeons, but there's definite time and a place for Fear Me. Time and a place for Doliac Signet. Time and a place even for Endure Pain in dungeons. Lots of options out there, guys. So be sure to know what to bring to each encounter, and you will be good to go. One last thing I want to note before we go on is some weapon skill uses. Tremor. You only want to use Tremor if the boss already has Defiant stacks on him. If the party starts the fight out with a Deep Freeze on the boss, good. He'll probably have Defiant from the Deep Freeze. Mash him with the Tremor, it's a DPS increase. If the boss doesn't have Defiant, don't use it. Someone's probably going to use a CC that's a little better than yours, like Deep Freeze. And you don't want to screw them up by using Tremor. Additionally, anytime you're out of combat and you're running to the next encounter, you want to switch your Axe Mace out for a Sword Warhorn. This is your mobility set. You always, best practices, want to switch these out. As soon as the fight's over, swap to Warhorn, and as soon as you can, boom, charge, you're good to go. If an Ellie drops a static field to blast for party-wide swiftness, call to arms in it. That'll give even more swiftness to the group. You have to be conscious of your job as a warrior of granting swiftness in between fights. Part of your job. Also, when the thief is stacking stealth for the party and blasting a smoke field, Savage Leap through the smoke field at the end. This will give you an extra 3 seconds of stealth and put you forward for the trash run. Always nice as a leap finisher to keep that in mind. Alright guys, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed my updated warrior build guide, and if you have any questions, which I'm sure you will, feel free to hit me up in the comments, and I will do my absolute best to answer them. I will see you guys next time. Hey, if you want to see this build in action, best way to do it, tune into my stream. Tuesdays through Sundays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, till whenever I get tired. Thanks again, guys. I appreciate you for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time.